Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of coloring this cat. This is from Hanna Karlzon's Tales from the Witch's Cottage. Part 1 of the cat's face is already up, so if you haven't seen that, you can go check that out as well. Today I'm going to be continuing using the Polychromos pencils. These are the warm grays. This is everything from warm gray 1 to warm gray 6, and that's what we've been using for this cat. So today we're going to continue coloring in the rest of him. So I'm looking at the same reference photo that I was using last time to color in the face, and it's looking like some of the darkest spots of this cat are on the body. So the face isn't quite as dark as some of the markings on the body. I'm going to go ahead and mark those in with warm gray 5. And this is back to mapping those colors and not doing fur strokes. So when we map the colors, we want to go in the direction of the fur, but we're not trying to draw individual hairs or anything. And what I'm going to do is start marking in some of the banding on the legs. So there's like a stripe up here, and up here on the face I was going more up and down most of the time. Here I'm going side to side because that's the direction that the fur is going down the leg, right? So I'm going to draw in that band, and this can be loose and messy and organic because it's not precise. It's kind of a thicker band like this on the leg, and then there's another one kind of down closer toward the paw. Maybe just like a little bit that comes up this way, not all the way around, and it's a bit lighter. And if you're also looking at the photo, I'm looking at the cat's left leg right now, and I just realized I'm coloring it on the right leg. So if you're a little confused, that's what's happening. I'll make this cat's left leg look like the right leg in the photo. I've switched the legs essentially. Kind of up between the paws here is a little darker, like that. The other side, there's like one band. Moving over here on this part of the cat now, I'm going to add in some more of these darker areas. So it looks like, it's hard to tell if it's a shadow or a band. I think there is a band though that kind of comes like this. So we're going to do that. And this, actually now the fur is going this way. So I'm going to draw the band like so. It's the darkest down here, and then it's going to get lighter as it comes upward. And it's a bit thicker here too. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of going back over it and darkening the middle of that band. And it looks like there's another one a couple inches away. Just gonna go in and make this shape a little bit more organic. So what I mean by that is, instead of keeping like this like a straight line on the stripe as it comes down, I'm gonna kind of go in and add some more little shapes just poking off of it on either end, just to give it more of a natural feel. As opposed to just a down the cat. See, that looks much more like a stripe you would find on a cat now. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just make some bits thicker and thinner in places. Here on the legs, I'm going to leave them like they are. The fur is a little bit shorter, so it's okay if they have more of that straight edge look to them. Because the fur is short, it's not floofing out in several different directions. Here the hair is longer, because I'm imagining this is like a floofy cat. So that's why here it makes more sense to have kind of those organic, natural, kind of thinner, thicker spaces as the hair is doing this on top of itself, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, that was warm gray 5. These are the darkest spots on the cat, so I'm going to go in again with warm gray 6 and just go over these. I like to map it out with a slightly lighter color so that I don't ever go too dark off the bat. It's much more easy to darken things than it is to lighten and taken away. So when I go in with something that I know is going to be really dark, I usually don't use my darkest pencil right off the bat. That's just me. It will be darker and create more contrast if you do go in right away with that darkest pencil, but I am a coward, so I don't do it. But I do color really lightly so that I can go over it with the darkest pencil and still have a lot of layering left available to me. So Now I'm going in with the 6, which is the darkest warm gray. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edges that I did with the 5 because that's going to help me blend it out. Okay, and down here. As I bring this up around the back of the cat, I'm not going to go quite as dark as I am down here because this is also in some shadow behind these flowers and everything. And I think this part of the cat is darker than on its back in the reference photo. So I am going to bring this warm gray 6 all the way up to the back, but I'm not going to be quite as intense with it. These two bands here, I think I want to make it a little wider or thicker now. So I'm going to go back with the 5 and just kind of go over the edges of those bands again. Now that I've put the darker one on there, I'm ready to kind of fade it out a little bit more. And for those of you who are new here, this is my process. I add color, and then I look at it and go, nope, needs more. And I go back and forth and use the same pencils over and over again. I'm probably not one of the most efficient colorists you can find on YouTube, but I do like the way most of my coloring pages turn out. So, pros and cons, right? I do want a halo around the tree, this backlit thing that we were going for. However, I don't want it to come all the way down here because you can see it looks a little weird. It looks like all I've done is kind of trace around the cat, which essentially is what I did here. I'm going to go in and just darken next to this trunk here so that it loses that weird halo look. It just looks unnatural. Like, why would the cat's stripe stop so cleanly around the silhouette of the tree? I'm going to add a kind of some more over here, another band or stripe here. I don't know if I'm going to bring this one all the way up. Maybe this one I'll only bring part way up. And because there's shadow down here, I'm just going to fill in here. And so what I'm doing is like creating a negative stripe, like a light stripe here that comes down this way and ends before it reaches all the way to the foliage. Does that make sense? So there's going to be like a light stripe. I'm going to grab the 6. My kitty is under my table at my feet meowing at me. Hi, Luna. I'm going to grab a piece of paper to tuck behind this page so that I can color off the edge of it. And when you're coloring off the edge of the page, you just want to go toward the edge and pick the pencil up again instead of going zigzaggy back and forth, because then your pencil is going to run into the edge of the page. So go ahead and just kind of flick off the page onto the paper underneath. And then you'll get that pencil all the way to the edge of the paper. It'll look really clean. I'm just extending this band a little bit. Okay. All right, so I think what I'm going to do next is take the 4. I like the warm gray 4 because it's a bit warmer than some of the other ones here. So I think, nope, that's the 2. I think, here's 4. Let's look at this reference photo again. Some of the lightest spots on this cat are right next to the banding here. So I don't think I'm going to add a lot of 4 here, but I am going to add a little bit because of the warmness that comes from it. And then I think I'm going to use quite a bit of 4 back in this area and around here. And then we got to figure out what we're going to do in here. I think I need to add some little dark splotches through there. Okay, so I'm taking the 4 and I'm just going to kind of go over the edge of the bands and go over some of the 5. I do want to leave some room for a 3 or 2. So I'm not going to fill in everything. Okay, just left a very small spot of white there. I think I'm going to go ahead and close in this small spot of white just super lightly so it doesn't look like a weird thing around the tree. Down here, this is looking funny. I realized I forgot to fill in some of this, and because this is all shaded and I like the way that's shaded, I want to do something similar here. So I'm going to grab the 5 again. Actually, I'm going to grab the 6. Nope, the 5. I'm going to grab the 5 and fill in the white that's here, and then I'm going to go back in with the 6 and shade. Here's the 5. I'm just going to do everything here. Okay, now I'm going to grab the 6. I've said this before in other videos, but if I had gone in with my darker color over that white spot, it would have looked very different than this darker color over the 5. So that if I had just gone with the 6 right into the white versus here I have the 6 over the 5, you would see a big difference. That 6 would be super dark and it would look really strange. So I wanted to fill it in with the 5 first. This is a small little fiddly bit, so I'm going to sharpen my pencil even more. So really dark down here, and then just trying to fade it up. Okay, it looks more filled in. Let's take the 5 again and add a little shadow and splotchiness to the front of this cat here. So for this blotchiness, I'm just going to create some small little shapes with this 5. This is a funny spot where the fur coming down the front of the cat meets the fur on the leg because the leg is bent. And so that fur is just kind of I don't know, you're gonna have fur coming down and then fur going sideways, so it's just a funny spot where the fur meets. Let's see, I'm gonna take the 5 and go over the paw here, like we did on this one, but it's not quite as dark. So I won't use the 6 on it, I don't think. Maybe just some little shapes here down the leg. And these are just going to stay a 5. I'm not going to use the 6 on that. Maybe just up this paw a little bit. I'm using the reference photo and also just kind of making it up. This is a place where you get to be creative because there's not an exact way to color a cat, right? They've all got different markings, so you can choose where to put some markings, and if you mess it up, that's fine. It's just the marking of the cat, you know? Nobody knows you messed up. You meant to do that. Some cats have weird looking fur patterns, so if you color yours and you go, man, this looks a little weird, that's okay. You just have a weird cat. All cats need love. Okay, so I'm going to take the 4 and just add a little bit up here, maybe right around the bottom of the paw here. And just a little bit in between, not all the way up. I should be going this way. Okay. I'm mostly adding this as a shading, trying to kind of map some of those shadows. Just help me see the 3D-ness of the cat. So this is much lighter on top. It's a little darker back behind that front paw. Along the bottom of the paws here where the light's not reaching as well, it's just going to be a little darker, so that's what I'm adding in. Add some up here, blend this out a little better. And then when we go over it with fur strokes, that'll help blend that out as well, because it'll hide some of the harsh gradient. I'm imagining this being a lighter part of the cat, but it's also underneath this weird collar thing, so there's going to be a little shadow there. Just going to lightly draw in a shadow where those kind of panels meet. Okay, now I'm going to take the 2 actually and go over some of these spots in the white here. So overlapping what I've already done and then bringing that into the white. And the 2 is also very warm, so you can see it brought in some of that yellow creamy tan color. I think I'm going to leave a few bits here and there for the warm gray one. Okay, I'm just going to add in the one on those spots on the paw now. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to go in either with the 4 or the 5 again to darken up some of these shadow areas here. So let's start with the 4. I'm going to grab the 6, my darkest one, and just go around the very bottom part here. Here's the 4. And the 6. And I'm going to grab the 3 and just kind of blend out this stripe on the paw a little bit. And I'm just going to darken and blend here a little bit. Okay. And under some of these tufts, I'm just kind of going to draw some little tiny shadows. And we'll do more of that when we start drawing first strokes. So I'm going to leave that alone now. Let's grab the 2 again and add some of that warmth back here. And I do like to go over some of the things that I've already done because it adds that creamy tan color to it. I'm going to fill in this white area with the 2. And right in here, some of these splotchy areas I left, we'll fill that in with a 2. I'm going to darken in here for some more shadow. Let's use the 5 for that. I'm going to add just a little shadow in this area here, where you could think of it as like another band. I'm going to go over that with a 2 again, just right in here. Okay, at this point, we've got color everywhere on the cat, so we're ready to start drawing in some first strokes. I think I'm going to go in with the 5, and I'm going to sharpen it up. And I'm going to start in this band over here, just because it's one of the easier ones to see. And it's a long one. So I'm going to use the 5 to just draw in some first strokes. And drawing in these first strokes is you just set the pencil down and you flick away in the direction that the hair is growing. And you just do that over and over again. So it's not a zigzag back and forth motion. It's just a flicking in the direction that the hair is growing. And this can overlap some of the lighter colors. And then around these flowers is going to be a little tricky because you don't want it to look like the fur just stops right at the flower. You want it to look like it's going behind the flower. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to go in this lighter area here. I don't want a spot around the trunk, so just really lightly coloring right next to the trunk. Okay. It's okay if as you're going to the edge of the cat, if some of those hairs come off the cat a little bit, it's fine. It's going to add to the fuzzy fluffy. And let's add some over here. And if you find that your first strokes are not as sharp as they were when you first sharpened your pencil, all you have to do is kind of rotate your pencil like this in your hand, because one side is getting flat as you use that side, and so then when you rotate it, you'll get a sharp point again. You don't have to keep sharpening your pencil unless you're using Prismacolors. Those you will need to keep sharpening over and over again. So I'm sorry, you may be using a lot of pencil on this page if you are using Prismacolor. As we get closer to the paw, these first strokes are going to get shorter and shorter. And just a couple fur strokes up here. I'm not really gonna do a whole lot of fur strokes on the paws or legs themselves because the fur is so short there. Maybe just a little bit right here to help blend. Right on the edges of some of those bands. Okay, I'm gonna take the 6 and just kind of go in some of these darker areas. And you can vary the direction slightly so it doesn't look like they've just been brushed magically in one direction. So like it's going from left to right here, but I can go swoopy kind of down, or I can swoopy kind of up a little bit. And I might do just some patches like this, like make one patch a little bit darker, like that. Add in some little dark splotches. Those are a little harsh. I'm just trying to fuzz them. This is the 5 now. Just gonna go over some of those that I did with the 6. The 5 isn't as sharp, so it's gonna help blend some of those really harsh ones that I did with the 6. So it's a combination now of fur strokes and also just kind of blending and softening. Okay, so this is where I'm going to leave the cat for today. What I would like to do next is go in on the whole cat and just add a little bit of a warm creaminess and a hint of brown in some areas, just to give it some more depth and complexity to the color of the fur. That should not take too long. I will probably be doing that with Prismacolor, but that will be in another video. So this is where we're going to leave it today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this in the future.